I didn't anticipate you not
Right
to
after this,
because
so
I
no, I gotta
drive my
be
wife to work for
two
taking me out today.
Okay, well, did you look at the committee agenda?
But I think
I looked
covered
at
the other
that,
items
you
a
mean,
little quicker.
column?
Yeah.
There's a few things there that's all I want to talk about, or ID, whatever, it doesn't really, there's not really anything there.
Okay, so we're ready, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so let us go back to, I think we finished everything. We're on number 11, communication for information. We have no bylaws today, so were there any items that anybody wanted to bring forward on the communications for information?
One of the items I wanted to bring up for communication for information, Madam Mayor, is the Canadian Fitness and Lifestyles Research Institute. There was a recommendation from our recreation manager before she left that maybe what we can do is recommend maybe Levo Community Club as part of the awards that go along with this,
Okay,
as well as wanted to just share this as this is an important one that we can post on our website as well.
great.
Okay. The other one I wanted to bring to your attention, Madam Mayor, is the where am I here? It was the provincial Crown Lands.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up.
Sorry.
It's a little farther down, there's two recycling payments, I think.
Yes, the funding letter for the Manitoba Stewardship, Material Stewardship, that they were, this is the, thank you, Councillor, that was the one I wanted to bring up, just to let you know about it, that they made those changes. And when they're making those payments. And, as well as the emergency planning, just to let you know that we're using the RM office. It's really for the emergency management operators, like people such as Tyler. But we're using our council chamber to accommodate them having that session here, so that you're aware of it. And I don't have any other items to add.
Well, the only other item I would have is that our, they've approved our emergency plan.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
That was the other one.
Yeah, they've approved that, so that's a good thing, so. Okay, maybe we can get through some of the committee reports, or all of them, because I don't know how busy everybody was over the holidays, but I'll start the committee, council reports, and I'm gonna start with Councillor Boulanger, please.
The only thing I have is December 14th, I attended a Christmas lunch with the Selkirk Biz at the Record. And it was just, it wasn't a full agenda, it was just talking about what was going on in the last couple of months. Their biz bucks are still going crazy. What was it? The Holiday Alley was somewhat of a success. They were saying it was pretty darn good. There was one other thing they were talking. The restaurants.
Yeah.
The restaurants. Those pop-up restaurants they were trying. And
Okay,
they canceled them again. It's just not enough. They had restaurants around the waterfront and stuff that were participating, and they tried it once a while ago. Those pop-up restaurants were, and it's not going forward again. They're just going to wait and see if it can muster up more support. They had the folks there talk about the different RMs, what was going on. I spoke in St. Clements what we were doing. Selkirk spoke on what they were doing. I think they were quite impressed with how busy we were at Selkirk. So yeah, it was a good meeting, and I think the next big AGM is on January coming up here.
on Thursday.
On Thursday, yeah.
Yeah,
The
and
11th.
unfortunately, some of us who would have gone to that are going to be going to ARM, because ARM is on Thursday also in Stonewall.
I'll be going to the meeting.
To the meeting.
Yeah.
And I think, Sandra, did you?
Yes, I'm
decide?
going also going to.
Okay,
Yeah.
And that's it for me, thanks.
thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Strang.
Only two events. One of them was on December 13th at Red River North Tourism. They had their meeting.
Yes.
And I brought greetings from the municipality and regrets that our mayor could not make it. She had another meeting that evening. But one of the things that they're talking about their AGM on March 20th. Fishing pamphlet they are busy making, or they made. It's supposed to be sending it to the RM. I don't know if we received anything yet. Christmas lights program, they are re-looking at it because they've had lots of the municipalities complain, but they would like to put a little bit more back on the RM. So whether we don't have a competition, I think one of the things was that people going out riding for the competition, that it put work on some of the administration, and I said at our RM that it was the councillors going out that we did that, but they said Selkirk still does it, and they said that anybody that phones in and does suggests an address to go to, they just put their name in a hat, and it's not a judgment of who does better, it's everybody's name goes in. Yes. So that's something we can look at, and they're also looking at it too, that they would like to bring it back. So they'll be in their newsletter about their art and garden tour. And this year they're going to focus more on St. Clements because they only had one garden last year from St. Clements. So, and people that they did contact said wait till the following year. They announced about Brenna's leaving, and they were very sad for her because she does do quite a bit with Red River North Tourism, and all the managers are there at this. Food cycler program was brought up. St. Andrews does it, St. Clements does it, Selkirk doesn't do it. So they were asking if they were going to be participating in it, and they actually have a 2-bag garbage limit in Selkirk, which I did not know. So they said that it probably would be something that would be brought up for their residents. So new people at the Interlake Arts Board. The other board has left, and there's a new group. I will be contacting them because they still haven't given us our plaque for our mural. That was never completed, so I'll send an email, and then I'll include administration and the mayor. And that is about it. And then on December 21st, I attended the St. Clement St. Andrews collaboration meeting for our water co-op, and just doing investigating, and I think it went very well. It was well represented by both sides, and the thing is that we are both in agreement about working together, which would be very nice. I guess the only thing I got out of it is that, and we'll probably get from our residents to make sure, to make sure that we have water for our residents. I can see that being just like, you know, that we're going to share with other municipalities, but to make sure that our residents have the water, and we aren't going to be going dry or anything for restrictions, because you see down south, even when we were at a meeting down at the Red River Basin, they were saying that there's days down south that they tell their residents they can only do laundry on this day, that there still is water, that the water is a hot commodity. So anyways, I just don't want to, I don't want to get to that point, so, for our residents. So anyways, that's it.
Perfect, thank you for that. Is anybody else joining you, Matt?
Just me.
Okay. I think maybe we'll cut it off there, and we'll
Come back.
do our delegation and come back, because there's still 5 of us to do.
Sure, Madam Mayor. So, we'll come to the receptions for delegations. So what we have is Matt Glavin here regarding from Terracon Developments, coming for a request to modify the development agreement for subdivision S22-2980. So Matt, if you will come on.
Sure.
And we can have you present the council.
I do have a bit of a package, if I could hand that out.
documents that, it's easier to just sort of hand that out. Thanks. So you can sort of follow along. I think the last time I was here, it was just as cold. But there was certainly more people in the room, so it was a
Yes.
little warmer. I recall talking about something to do with paintball, but today,
The room was quite warm.
the room was quite warm, that's true. So, if you just want to flip to the first page, I just provide sort of a bit of an outline of what we want to talk about here today. This is related to our subdivision, which you'll see on the next page. Recall it's our 20 lot subdivision, just north of Dunning Road off Raleigh. We had our hearing, as I said, last year. We're in the process of finalizing our development agreement. And really, the purpose of me coming here today is to really discuss the wording as it pertains to the timing of fee payments. Really getting down to the short strokes of the development agreement, getting ready to sign it. It's something that sort of just triggered the necessity of coming here to talk about it. And what I've done here is provided examples straight from languages from other development agreements that we have worked on. And ones that I have been a part of and ones that I have negotiated. And just to provide a bit of context of how the timing of the fees relate in those other RMs, and I'll sort of point out what I think is good about them, what didn't work, and then strive to what I think is a good option for how we can move forward here. So on the next page, this is the way that the language is currently proposed. Is the payment of costs and taxes. The developer shall say prior to the issuance of the commencement certificate, the capital levy is set forth. So basically, at the point that we start our servicing, the fees are to be paid. From our perspective, that is a rather problematic time. It's really basically saying, okay, you got to pay everything up front before you can start. From our perspective, we like to stage or push out our payments as much as possible to the point of where we're actually at a revenue stage. And I'll show some examples of how that looks or has looked in other examples. So if you turn the next page, back in 2018, this is the Trails of West St. Paul. It's rather cumbersome language to begin with. I've highlighted kind of the important part because the first clause basically pertains to water units, and if we've secured water units at a certain time, which we have, and what it basically says is that the levies are to be paid once 60% of the lots in phase 1 have been sold. And the phase 2 levies are to be paid once 60% of the lots in phase 2 have been sold. In any event, they're due no later than December 31st, 2019. I didn't really like this language looking back on it. And the reason I don't like this language is what is sold. Well, when I engage in a contract with a builder, that's sold. When the builder engages with the purchaser, that's sold. So it's not, say, clear cut and dry language, and I think it could have been improved looking back on it. Nonetheless, what it did do is it did allow for staging. So however we want to interpret it and the language can be improved, the crux of it was basically that, you know, once 60% of the lots have changed hands, that's when our fees were due. If we go to the next page, we're talking about River Springs Grove Phase 1. This was a fun little subdivision, and this said that 50% of the fees were due upon execution of the development agreement and 50% due on or before November 30th. That was staging the fees into 2 separate payments. A much smaller condensed subdivision. If we're looking at, if we go to the next page, the overall sort of balance of the next one, where that one says that phase 2 shall be payable to the municipality when 60% of the lots in phase 1 have been transferred in the property registry, or December 31st, 2023, whichever occurs. And then says the same thing for phase 3. Now that's a little bit more specific, as I've noted the problem with the trails. This is now talking about, okay, when the RM actually gets notification that there's actually been a transfer in the property registry, that can be tallied, that's simple, that's easy. It does require a little bit of administrative work, because the admin now has to tally how many lots have actually been registered, done a transfer in the property registry. So that in itself does have a bit of a flaw as well. So next, we're into the RM of McDonald, and one that we've done off of Gilbury Boulevard, where it says 50% of the fees shall be paid upon signing the agreement, and the remaining 50 shall be paid prior to the issuance of the first development or building permit. So again, that's a bit of a staging. The language is pretty clear in that one. Not complex, I think that one is not bad. And then if we go to the final one, this is our latest one in Ile des Chênes. And this one, we have a map that corresponds to what is stage 1, what is stage 2. So for stage 1, it is the earlier of 65% of the lots having been issued a building permit, or 5 years from the issuance of the commencement certificate, or before the issuance of the commencement certificate for stage 2. So what that basically is saying is, okay, once the 65th percentile building permit has been issued, or if for some reason the market is very slow, we've decided to go, and it's 5 years from that date, you've got to pay. Or if we decide that the market's really going fast and we want to start stage 2, you've got to pay the fees. And for stage 2, it says the earlier of 65% of stage 2 have been issued permits, or the issuance of stage 2 acceptance certificate and release of security. Well, I think we'll see how it works, but I'm happy with this one. Again, we're talking about the staging and deferral of when payment is due. So it's a very, as you can see, what I'm trying to convey is it's a very common practice amongst every RM that I've dealt with. And it certainly is a flexible sort of give and take relationship. What I've done on the last page is sort of taken a shot at how we could modify the language, in my opinion, taking, say, the best of the past. And so what I would propose is, say, the capital levy shall be paid upon the earlier of 1, a total of 5 lots have been issued with building permits, or 2, 180 days following the issuance of acceptance certificate. Acceptance certificate being we're done warranty, I apologize, we're on warranty and we're 180 days after that. We've done our servicing, we're completed. We're now at the stage of selling. I guess that is really what my ask is we want to be in a revenue stage in order to be able to pay the fees. I don't feel it's fair to be in a pre-revenue stage to pay the fees.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna open it up because I'm sure there's questions. I know I have a couple, but I'll wait till the end here. So go ahead, Councilor Borges.
So
I think you had your hand up.
City of Winnipeg, how does it work there if you're
There
doing
are.
a subdivision?
It's not say an apples to apples comparison.
No, I'm just asking. How does it work there? Do you pay right up front, or?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There isn't fees in the same sense. There isn't, say, the capital fees and those sorts of things. You pay your application fees up front, and then there's kind of lot approval fees, but they're not necessarily on the same scale. Nor is there the same sort of timing and negotiation when it comes to the City of Winnipeg. They're just non-existent.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Councilor Spicer.
This is a 20 lot subdivision, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I noticed on one of them, and I think this is more of a general question, Matt, when we say that a number of lots have been transferred in the property registry, you're talking about registering the purchaser, like once the purchaser buys the lot and it's registered in land titles office when you refer to property registry, correct?
That's correct. So
Okay,
in some cases, you'll see it where we will hold the title.
okay,
The title will go to the builder. And usually that happens during the period of, in the case of, say, the trails, it would have happened kind of before the time that the development agreement was executed. So really, we're talking about the builder to the end user. I wouldn't say that, again, that was a great model to use because I think it requires a little bit more administration work. I think evaluating the building permit is a better metric because it's easier to look at and easier to tally. It's something you guys keep better records of building permits than you would of, say, noting when a title has changed hands.
well, and that's kind of where I was going with it, because sometimes from the day the title has changed hands till we get notification here
Right.
at the RM, it could be a couple of months. I don't know how quick land
Well,
titles
and
is
I
anymore.
use the example too of really what also was a failure in that process was, you know, when they went on strike. When they went on strike, you're exactly right, is it put a further delay in that process.
Right,
So it's, when the building permit is issued, that's a fixed point in time, it's easy to evaluate. You know that something's gonna happen right away,
yeah,
not something did happen however many months ago. So
right,
I think it's taken some time, I believe, over the years to get to this point, having learned this,
yeah.
but I think it's much better metric to use the building permit.
See, I guess for us here, we haven't run into a lot of developers that, you know, you have the property now, you transfer it to a builder, then the builder, once the home is up, then transfers it to the property owner. We're used to seeing, you're developing it, you sell a lot to Joe Ratepayer, who in turn goes and gets his own building permit and does it that way. So
Yeah, and that
it's, you know, it's a little bit different for us here in this municipality for some of the examples that you've used where it's yours, builder, homeowner. We usually go from developer to homeowner. That middle part is, we don't have very many of those, so. I'm just trying to wrap my head around some of your suggestions so that we can make an informed decision for you.
Sure.
Scott, I think you had your hand up.
Fairly direct question. So if I look at Schedule C here, we're looking at $81,000.
Mhm.
So this is more of a fairness question in your mind.
If you're, I guess if I'm reading between the lines, you're maybe talking about the quantum of the number.
Yes.
At the end of the day, the quantum may not seem that much in the grand scheme of the picture, but it is. And certainly it is a fairness thing as well. And it's also about, okay, it may not seem like $81,000. $81,000 is a lot of money. I wouldn't dispute that. I think it is. And it's also the timing of it. Okay, if we're paying up front when we have no revenue in, we're dishing out that $81,000, we're borrowing it, we're paying on it, versus at the point where we're revenue and yeah, okay, easily cut a check for $81,000. It's the timing that is really the biggest. I'm not disputing the amount. It's the timing. It's the fairness.
Okay, go ahead, Councilor Boulanger, you had your hand up.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, I'm looking at these pages and there's phasing in all of them, and I don't think we're adverse to some form of phasing, but to not pay any fees until services are done, I mean, it's just policy, we're trying to stick with our policy and be consistent, so I mean, it's just, I don't know,
What are you,
I think you're suggesting not to pay any fees until all the services are done or until
That would be the ask.
Yeah,
Understand, you know, a decision isn't necessarily going to be made today, and we'll have to sit on this and discuss it further.
absolutely, yeah.
I think hearing you, what you're potentially suggesting is, as perhaps maybe has seen in some other examples of, say, 50% at the execution of the agreement and 50%
Whatever it is, I mean,
as this wording has been suggested.
yeah, I mean, some form of phasing of some sort, I mean.
That's an option.
It is an option, and I think that, you know, council has some discussing to do about it. We know what your ask is, and I guess, you know, one that comes to my mind is one that we said, you know, once you have 5 lots sold, then you pay your fees.
I think I said the issuance of the building permit, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't use that language.
Well, see, and I guess personally, I don't necessarily agree with building permit, because you could sell it to a home builder and he may build right away. Do you ever sell outright to a property owner? Because if you sell it outright to a property owner, he can hang on to that property for 5 years and we don't get anything.
That's why I also added the earlier of the
Okay.
180 days following the issuance of the acceptance certificate, because you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Someone could sit on that forever, so that takes away that
That part of it, okay.
possibility.
Go ahead, Scott.
I have a suggestion. Generally, in reading the room, I think we're open to some type of phasing, like maybe administration. I mean, you guys have been negotiating wording already. I'm sure there's something that you guys can come up with that can be presented to council.
Yeah, and I think we have to, as you well know, we have to have a further discussion on it, kind of to see where we want to go. But I don't think that the council here is going to say, well, no, you have to pay everything up front. I think we're open to have some sort of a phasing, just not sure how that's going to look at this point in time. But I'm sure Deepak will have some discussions with you. Go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
Yeah, when this is started, do you have any idea of a timeline when it would be ready to sell lots? Like, how long would it take to put this subdivision in? Do you have a timeline?
In terms of
2 years?
construction schedule,
To be finished, so now the lots are ready to sell? Yes.
well, typically, with a normal subdivision, you'd service in, say, May and be ready in the fall. Given that we're not really installing any services, this would just be earthworks and a road. It wouldn't take more than probably a few months to do the work. So, you know, that is something that, you know, we do have to pave the road, so that would have to be done during normal construction season. But this would be a much more reduced construction timeline.
So, let's say, within a year for sure. I'm giving it, so, that it would be complete.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's very helpful. I
So
guess,
if I could just get
Yeah,
a clarification,
yeah.
Madam Mayor. So Matt, from what I'm hearing is that they're asking us to take a look and work with you on the phasing or some sort of a model that'll work, and you're open to having that discussion.
okay, we'll follow up and have a discussion, sure, if you want to.
Yeah.
We'll get some further information
Yeah.
from
We'll connect
Matt.
later this week.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks for coming in on such a cold, miserable day.
But
And
wait for us,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy
Yes,
New
we
Year.
didn't say that at the
Yeah.
beginning, so Happy New Year to
Yes.
you and your family.
Thank you. Take care.
See you.
Yeah, you too, Matt. Okay, we're gonna go back to our committee reports, and I think we are at Councillor Sutherland.
I don't have very much. December 21st, we had our meeting with St. Andrews about the water pole. That's all I have.
That's all you had?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Councillor Corbis, did you have anything before you
No, I have nothing to report.
ran away? okay. Go ahead, Counselor Bazarowicz.
Same as Councilor Sutherland, December 21st, the St. Andrews Water Co-op meeting. That's it.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Counselor Spicer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. December 13th, Red River Planning regular meeting, and December the 21st, joint councils meeting with the Armisen, and that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you for that. I have a couple more here, I guess, than everybody else. We had our council meeting on the 12th of December. The 13th, as Councilor Spicer said, we had our RRPD regular meeting. On the 14th, I attended the Capital Planning Region meeting. They had an ABC training. It was online. Did attend that. On the 14th, I attended the Selkirk Holiday gathering, and I guess the invitation did come to the municipality, and it was kind of, I guess when I got there, everyone looked at me and said, where's the rest of your council? So the invitation is open to everybody, and I know when it comes, it just comes to the municipality, so.
Which one was that for again?
That was the city of Selkirk. They have their, just a kind of a come and go, and it's, yeah.
I was planning on going to that, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was on a Thursday
Yeah.
evening, and I did go for a little while. It was well attended, but I don't believe that there were as many there this year as have been in the past, so. But just to keep it kind of in the back of your mind, you know, some of these things, it may come to the mayor or to the municipality, but it is open to all members of council, so we'll try and be a little bit more mindful of that so that some council members can attend some of these events. On December the 20th, I had a John Q board meeting, just to update on a lot of the projects. This one I found very interesting on December the 21st, and I think it was on our agenda. It was from the East Selkirk Middle School, and they had a reconciliation project that they did. And there's 16 classes in the middle school here. Each classroom had a question that they had to answer. And I'll just read a couple of them. What is the Truth and Reconciliation Commission? It was one of them. What was the 60s Scoop was another one. And these were answered by all the middle school students. And what they did was they had a map on the wall, and for each of the questions, they did a map of that area, and when they put everything up on the wall, and I think I might have a couple of pictures, I might send them to Deepak, we can look at them at lunchtime. They made actually a map of Canada, and it was very interesting because these kids got up and they presented on their question. I thought it was very interesting. Another one was, what historical events led to the establishment of the residential school system? Like, it was all the Truth and Reconciliation. I found it very interesting, and I think we're going to see more and more of that in our meetings and things like that. Go ahead, Councilor Boulanger.
Did they answer part of those questions through teachings they got within the classroom? 'Cause
Yes.
Okay, I was
Yes.
wondering where, it would
Yeah.
have to be something that they
Yes.
talked about in the classroom.
Yes.
Okay, good.
And of course, Rita Patrician, the teacher that was here with some of her students a couple of times, was the one that led this. And she did tell me she will be bringing students again in the not too distant future. So I think it'll be very interesting. It was really good, and I thought it was very well done. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. And then I guess on the 21st in the afternoon, we had our meeting with St. Andrews here, and that's all I have. So, and I think that's all of us, so I'm going to leave it for Deepak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At my meeting on the 13th, as you know, I provide a written report at the end of the month with all the details. And then, but for now, I had a meeting on the 13th with the on the pipeline, the force main going to Lockport for the water treatment plant, as well as we've been meeting to do hiring of our communications and recreation manager positions. I also had a meeting on December the 15th with John Q housing proposal for seniors and multifamily, and I'll be providing an update on that in camera as it was a confidential meeting. As well, I've had some meetings with the union regarding several different issues, and some of those have been brought forward for discussion in camera as they are personnel issues. And along with that, I also met with our consultant who's finished our financial review that I had asked to be done, and I'll be reporting a little bit on that as well. And then we also met with Shinko Developments. As you may recall, that they came in a presentation here, and then we met with them later to talk about some other potential lands that they could possibly develop on. And that was on December the 19th. And along with that, also had the meeting on the 21st with Arma St. Andrews, and some additional meetings on payroll and development, and that's my report for now.
Question? Do you have a real-time update on the water line? Are they currently, like right now, still digging or pushing, or are they?
They're finished, I think, now.
Okay.
They've been able to get under the creek here.
Okay, that's good.
And they should have, I think, mostly completed everything. I can't remember whether they were able, I don't think we got an update on whether they were able to finish the work by CIL. There was a section there because we had a delay in pushing the pipe there due to provincial approvals. But I think they've already gone through the lands here by 59, and we were able to get the easement with the private property owner. They've been able to go there. They've taken along Henderson and been able to get as far as the floodway, and so now the work would be on the other side of the floodway because they're just connecting to the existing stumps in the floodway. So they made a fair amount of progress. They did have some challenges as construction. There were some vandalism that occurred onto their equipment and material. I think some people were upset thinking that they were being forced into services, and they had some people come and yell at them. And although it was communicated with those individuals, I'm not sure who it was, so we can't tell. The RCMP have been involved in doing that review for some of that vandalism that occurred. Generally speaking, the contractor is moving very, very quickly. Tomorrow, I'm meeting with the Lockport Condo Corporation members to talk about their connection, and our engineering company is doing the design work for them.
Good segue. Okay. Is the Condo Corporation going to articulate, either in a newsletter or a formal letter, to all condo residents the reason why they went in the direction of using municipal water? We all know the reasons here, but I want to know, and maybe it's something you can ask, or maybe it's done already, I don't know. I'm all about getting the message out front first, always. And I know a number of people within those buildings who still may be under the impression that this water concept was sort of pushed by the RM, and it wasn't. It was due to provincial legislation that the condo could no longer offer a service with water because of upgrades that needed to be done and training that needed to be done. So it made sense to go towards RM water. I just want to make sure the Condo Corp tells its residents the reason why they went in the direction of no longer providing water and going with the RM. I think that's pivotal.
It's a good point. It's not necessarily 100% correct what you've communicated
Okay,
there.
no,
What
however,
the situation was that they had lost the expert that was managing their water treatment facility.
Yeah.
And as it was a private facility, they didn't have anyone else available. They contacted the RM and requested to see if the RM would be willing to support it. That was brought to council. Council agreed to support it, but there was a requirement. Council, as a municipality, we're not allowed to just continually support private treatment facilities when there's piped water there. So part of the requirement for that agreement, which they signed a couple of years ago, was that, that we would continue to support it at a very low cost and a minimal cost. And for that, when water was available, that they would be required to connect. And they all agreed to that. Every condo corporation signed on to that agreement. And I would have assumed that they communicated to their members at that time. Now that the water has finally come forward, and at that point we were anticipating we were getting it, but we didn't know whether we would have the water line there at any period of time. I'm meeting with the group, as well as they requested for myself to be able to do a presentation for their members. And so we'll be looking at doing that presentation within the month, or maybe by March, because I'm going to be away for most of February. And at that presentation, we'll have those discussions. But you bring a good point that maybe that needs to be communicated. There's been some pushback from some members who are not happy for the fact that there's a cost associated with it for the pipe from 44 coming to the condo corporation. They felt that that pipe should be the RM's responsibility. It was explained to them several months ago that any force main that would be going further south would be going around all that area because of the instability for the bank stabilization that needs to be done there, as well as the amount of services that are already in the existing right-of-ways, that there's no room to put in another major pipe without having some significant issues. So our engineers have recommended not to do that. So what we're looking at is only one smaller pipe to go in there and feed the condo corporation.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
Agree with what administration has stated. I think the other thing that's important to bear in mind here is some of what Councilor Galante said is true. Their requirements to run it themselves
That's what I was getting at.
were increased because they designated it a goody, they call it, which is groundwater under influence of the river, let's call it. I don't know what the actual acronym means. And it's true, because every time that there is something that goes on in the river, there are challenges treating that water. There are times when they have groundwater. So the other side of this is there is a risk factor of them staying with what they have. Because anything that's in the river could end up in their condos. So I think that should be relayed. Maybe it should be them doing it, but it needs to be relayed also. Like, this is a much safer supply of water than what they have right now. Like, much, much safer.
I don't, there may be some private individuals that might have some issues with that. I didn't get the impression any members of the condo corporation, board members, were concerned about getting, they all understood the cost of running their existing and all the issues that were related with it. It was a matter of these additional costs for piping that they felt was, but they are getting a 20 or a 50% discount as a condo corporation for the REU costs. So it's $2,500 per connection.
The other thing that they could explore is there's some other places there that could connect also. Like
Yes.
if it works out correctly, there could be some partnerships there,
Correct.
right?
But just to verify what you said, I do remember that we agreed to look after their treatment plant. But I do remember just what you said, when we have a water line there, they will have to hook up to the water main.
If
So-
that was in the agreement with them.
Yeah, so there should be nothing, no discussion really, it's just,
Well, I think it's individuals, right?
It's individuals.
It's individuals,
Yeah,
not necessarily the common
not
corporation.
the board, it's just, yeah. And the reason I brought it up is when people ask me these questions, when you've got those 4 condos full of hundreds of people, not everybody gets the same message, and I agree, the board, it's not the board, it's just individuals.
Well, and
My
it's
opinion.
not just one board, each condo has their own corporate, or their own board too, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
There's
So
5
that's-
boards.
yeah.
Exactly, so now you're dealing with another group.
But all of them did sign on,
Yes,
so.
they all agreed to that, and that went through their legal.
yeah, so.
Go ahead, Glenn.
What's that yellow line that's running down 44 right now? Any idea?
Yellow line.
Yeah. Yellow used to always be natural gas.
It's right across from Weldings.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Okay.
The water line was black, as I recall, and we haven't run any lights on that side of the river yet.
Valley Fiber was always orange.
Yeah, this is
Yellow
yellow.
was
it's
always
all
gas. And-
Well, Valley Fiber has used some yellow lines too.
Are they? Okay. That could be it.
Okay, anything else that you have for us, Deepak?
No, Madam Mayor?
Okay, Heather, do you have anything you need to share with us today?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. So I would imagine that we can adjourn and just right up your alley, right? We'll adjourn our regular meeting and we'll have a bit of a break for lunch and then we will do our committee of the whole and we might even start that right away. So if I could have a resolution. Pardon me?
We're going camera right now?
No, we're going to adjourn this meeting and we're going to start our committee of the whole, so.
Resolved that this meeting of council be adjourned at 11:37 a.m., January 9, 2024.
Can I move by Councillor Boulanger, seconded by Councillor Bazarowicz. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor, opposed, carried.
Trust this
Heather, a
meeting with the
couple
current
of,
CAO. History.
Yeah.
Things
Yeah,
that
I
come
was
in
gonna
the
say
new
we should
year,
break
is
this
this
meeting
like
My
a,
New Year's resolution,
Yeah.
council.
we're finished?
I fixed yours.
Oh, okay.
Good, we'll save on lunch, we won't have to buy everybody lunch.